My wife's voice hit me at 2:17 a.m., demanding $18,000 for her son's hospital bill. I told her to call his real father, hung up, and by sunrise I was learning my name was all over federal fraud paperwork. That's my story. Owen Sullivan, 58 years old, and until that night, I thought I knew what loyalty meant. The call started in my bed in Toledo, Ohio, with February wind rattling windows like it had something personal against our house. I'd been sleeping hard after pulling a double at Great Lakes Auto. 38 years as a foreman, and my body still wasn't used to 16-hour days. But retirement was 18 months away, and every overtime hour meant more security for the pension I'd been building since I was 20 years old. Michelle wasn't in bed. Again. She'd been sleeping on the couch most nights, said her back hurt from sitting at her computer all day. She was a billing supervisor at Cleveland Metro Health, knew medical insurance like most people know their own names. The empty space beside me was cold, and I told myself not to read into it. 19 years of marriage teaches you which battles to pick and which ones to let slide. My phone lit up on the nightstand like a fire alarm. Michelle. I checked the clock and felt my stomach drop. Nothing good ever came from phone calls at 2 a.m. Owen? Her voice came through sharp and panicked, the way it got when Mason was in trouble, which was more often than I liked to admit. What's wrong? Mason's in the hospital. He's hurt bad, and they're saying he'll have to suffer all night if we don't pay the deposit right now. Owen, I need you to wire $18,000. Background sounds filtered through fluorescent hum, wheels on tile, voices over intercoms. Hospital sounds, or at least what she wanted me to think were hospital sounds. But something felt off. Michelle knew hospitals better than anyone. She fought insurance battles for a living. Where are you? I asked, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. The floor was cold, against my bare feet. Barton Medical in South Lake Tahoe. They need cash tonight, or they can't give him the stronger pain medications. He's crying, Owen. He keeps asking for you. Tahoe. I stared out the dark window where my F-150 sat in the driveway, salt-crusted from another Ohio winter. Real life was here, in Toledo. This emergency was 1,800 miles away. Mason Garrett was 31, Michelle's only child from her first marriage to Liam Garrett. When I met Mason, he was 12, all elbows and attitude. I taught him to throw a baseball in our backyard, and later how to parallel park in the church lot after Sunday service. I never adopted him officially. Michelle always said we'd do it later, but later never came. The bills sure did, though. Dead batteries, job applications that needed suits, rent mix-ups, car troubles. Every few months, something. Every time, Michelle would look at me with those watery eyes and say, "He's trying, Owen. He's really trying." Like trying was the same thing as succeeding. What happened to him? I asked, pulling on the jeans I'd left on the chair. A fight at a casino. Someone jumped him in the parking structure. He's in agony, Owen. I've never heard him cry like this. Casino. My chest tightened. Mason liked casinos the way some men like fishing. Said it helped him relax. Said he had a system. I'd heard that word before from guys at the plant who'd lost their whole paychecks by Wednesday. Which hospital again? Barton Medical, South Lake Tahoe, she said, then added too quickly. My credit cards are maxed, and Mason's insurance is complicated. I need you to wire the money. I can send you the details. She kept talking, but something cold was settling in my gut. Michelle was smart about money, smarter than anyone I knew. She could untangle medical billing mysteries that left other people crying in customer service. If anyone could navigate insurance complications, it was her. Why can't you handle the insurance? I asked. A beat of silence. Then her voice went softer, the way it got when she wanted me to fold. Because we're tapped out, honey, and he's asking for you. He said to tell you he's sorry for everything and he needs his dad. Dad. That word used to make me proud. Now it felt like a tool being used against me. I felt it then. That old reflex. Reach for your wallet. Fix it. Prove you're a good man. I could already see myself opening my banking app, transferring money I'd worked 16 hours to earn. Then another thought slid in behind it, clear and cold. She kept saying, my son. Not our son. My son. I remembered the last emergency call, 2:30 a.m., 3 summers ago. Michelle swearing Mason needed money for a medical deductible. I'd sent $3,500 without questions. A week later, I saw photos on Facebook. Mason grinning in some nightclub bottle service, looking like a kid who'd found a cheat code for life. I'd confronted Michelle about it. She'd cried, said I was being suspicious and cruel. I'd apologized for overreacting and never brought it up again. That was the rhythm of our marriage. I paid, then I apologized. Michelle, I said, my voice steady as a safety inspection. Call his father. Dead silence. Then her tone went flat and dangerous. Excuse me? Call Mason's real father. I'm not doing this anymore. Owen, that man isn't in our lives anymore. And I am? Because right now you're talking to me like I'm a bank account. How can you say that when he's in a hospital bed? She snapped. In the background, someone said, Ma'am, please keep your voice down. Michelle plowed right over it. If you don't send the money, he'll suffer all night. What kind of man does that make you? I pictured my pension file in the bedroom drawer. The house we'd finally paid off last year after 30 years of payments. The quiet retirement I'd earned one shift at a time, one safety meeting at a time, one problem I'd helped other people solve. I pictured every time I'd said yes, because guilt was easier than fighting. I'm going back to sleep, I said. Call his real father. Owen, don't you dare. Good night, Michelle. I ended the call. My heart was hammering, but underneath it was something I hadn't felt in years. Lightness. Like I'd finally put down a box I'd been carrying for decades. I powered the phone off, black screen, no buzzing, and lay back down. The furnace kicked on. The house settled around me. And for the first time in 19 years, I slept like a man who'd learned to say no. I woke to sunlight slicing through the blinds and the smell of coffee from the timer I'd forgotten to reset. For about 5 seconds, my mind was empty. Then the memory of the call slid back in, sharp as broken glass. I sat on the edge of the bed, feet on the same cold floor, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Relief. No buzzing phone, no knot in my chest, just quiet. Like I'd finally learned how to breathe again. I showered, shaved, and put on my Great Lakes auto hoodie even though it was my day off. 38 years of habit. When you've been a foreman that long, you dress like you might get called in to handle someone else's emergency. Funny thing was, for the first time in years, I wasn't expecting that call to come. I was pouring coffee when my phone lit up. Unknown number, Michigan area code. I almost let it ring, then figured it might be work. Owen Sullivan. Mr. Sullivan, this is Officer Shane Martinez with the Dearborn Police Department. Are you the stepfather of Mason Garrett? The mug stopped halfway to my mouth. I'm married to his mother. Why? Your name came up during an incident report from last night. Mr. Garrett was detained following an altercation at a casino parking structure. So Michelle's hospital story was complete garbage. Not surprising, but it still hit me like a punch to the gut. During booking, Officer Martinez continued, we discovered irregularities related to a line of credit opened using your identifying information. The coffee turned to acid in my mouth. What kind of irregularities? A casino credit marker for $42,000. Your name and social security number were used as guarantor. My kitchen felt like it was shrinking around me. $42,000? I never signed anything. I understand, sir. That's why I'm calling. We need to ask you a few questions and advise you to secure your financial accounts immediately. Is Mason hurt? He has injuries consistent with a fight. Nothing life-threatening. However, he's facing charges related to fraud and identity misuse. After Officer Martinez hung up, I stood there holding the phone like it was evidence. So that was it. Not a medical emergency. A con job. And I'd almost fallen for it again. I fired up my laptop and logged into my credit monitoring account, the one I'd set up after Danny Rodriguez at the plant got his identity stolen by his own son-in-law. Danny had told us during break, can't trust nobody anymore, not even family. I'd thought he was being paranoid. The screen loaded like it was afraid to show me the truth. 3 soft inquiries in the last month. Names I didn't recognize. Then a hard inquiry from Pacific Coast Gaming Credit, dated 2 weeks ago. My hands were shaking as I printed everything. Numbers don't lie, but they sure can surprise the hell out of you. I grabbed my keys and drove straight to Ruby's Diner on Monroe Street. Ruby's was where guys from the plant went when they needed to think, or when home felt too complicated. The smell of bacon grease and black coffee, thick mugs that had seen better days, booths where a man could sit without anybody rushing him. Aaron Brooks was already there. Same corner booth he'd claimed since the first Clinton administration. Aaron was 62, retired from the plant 5 years ago, spent his mornings reading newspapers and giving advice nobody asked for. But when you needed it, his advice was solid gold. "Owen," he said, folding up the sports page. "You look like somebody ran over your dog." "Worse," I said, sliding into the booth. I set my printouts on the table between us like evidence. "Somebody stole my name." Aaron didn't touch the papers right away. He studied my face first, the way he used to study blueprints when he was still on quality control. "This about Michelle's boy?" I nodded. "Apparently he's been busy." Aaron picked up the papers, scanning slow and methodical. His jaw got tighter with every page. After 5 minutes, he set them down and took off his glasses. "Owen, this wasn't some kid making mistakes. This was planned." "Planned how?" "Look at these dates. Soft credit pulls first, checking limits, seeing what you qualify for. Then they wait a few weeks and go for the hard inquiry. You don't do that unless you expect to get approved." He tapped the table. "Question is, who gave them enough information to pull this off?" The diner noise faded to background hum. Silverware clinked somewhere far away. An old timer argued with the waitress about the weather. Normal sounds from a normal world I felt like I was watching through glass. "My wife," I said. Aaron nodded like he'd been expecting that answer. "Then listen to me real careful, Owen. You don't confront her yet. You don't accuse anybody of anything. First, you protect yourself." "How?" "Freeze every account you share with her. Change passwords on everything. Pull complete credit reports from all 3 bureaus. Document everything, but keep it quiet." He leaned forward. "And whatever you do, don't let guilt make decisions for you." My phone buzzed on the table. Michelle. I watched it vibrate against the Formica and didn't move. Text messages started coming. "Owen, please call me." "Owen, this is serious." "Owen, they're saying things about Mason that aren't true." I turned the phone face down. Aaron nodded approval. "Good man. Now, who else has access to your personal documents?" I thought about our filing cabinet at home, neat and organized, everything labeled in Michelle's careful handwriting. Insurance papers, tax returns, social security cards, bank statements. 19 years of trust, filed alphabetically. "She handles all our paperwork," I said. Says I'm too busy with work to worry about it. Aaron's expression darkened. Owen, I think you better prepare yourself. This thing might be bigger than one casino marker. He was right. When I got home and opened that filing cabinet, I found an envelope tucked behind our homeowner's policy. Inside were photocopies of my Social Security card, driver's license, and a pre-approval letter addressed to me, dated 6 weeks ago. I'd never seen any of it before. That's when my phone rang again. Different number this time. Mr. Sullivan, this is Special Agent Rachel Torres with the U.S. Attorney's Office. We need to schedule an interview regarding financial irregularities connected to your identity. I closed my eyes and leaned against the kitchen counter. About what, exactly? About protecting you and understanding who thought using your name was safe. Her voice was professional, but not unkind. Mr. Sullivan, based on our preliminary investigation, you appear to be a victim here, not a perpetrator, but we need your cooperation. After she hung up, I sat at my kitchen table and stared at that envelope. Michelle had said it herself on the phone. The safer name. My name. The name I'd built over 38 years of showing up early, staying late, and never calling in sick unless I was half dead. I pulled complete credit reports from all 3 bureaus and spread them across the table like a crime scene. What I found made my hands shake. This wasn't just one casino marker. Over the past 24 months, there had been a slow bleed. Small credit cards opened and closed. Balance transfers landing just under alert thresholds. Medical insurance overpayments that had been rerouted to accounts I didn't recognize, then zeroed out within hours. Every account had one thing in common. Michelle's maiden name was attached somewhere in the paperwork. I traced it all back methodically, the way I'd learned to trace quality problems on the line. You don't guess. You follow the evidence until it tells you the story. Mason's gambling wasn't new. Online poker sites, regional casinos, sports betting. Small wins followed by bigger losses. When Michelle couldn't cover his debts with insurance refunds and medical overpayments, she'd moved to credit. When credit hit limits, she'd escalated to my name. She hadn't just used my identity, she'd planned around it. Around 3 Asr, I drove to Fifth Third Bank on Central Avenue and sat across from Linda Morrison, a manager I'd known since she started there fresh out of college. Linda had gray hair now and the kind of steady voice that could calm down angry customers. I need to protect my pension, I told her. She didn't ask for details, just slid papers across the desk. Owen, you'd be surprised how often this comes up. Family members, unfortunately. By 4:30, I'd frozen every joint account Michelle and I shared, changed passwords on everything, set up fraud alerts, all legal, all quiet, all necessary. When Michelle came home around 7:00 that evening, snow melting off her boots, I was sitting at the kitchen table with my laptop open and a stack of printouts beside me. She looked tired, older somehow. Her face was flushed like she'd been crying or arguing or both. Mason's stable, she said without looking at me. They finally got him comfortable. I nodded but didn't respond. She hovered in the doorway, waiting for the questions she used to get. How much did it cost? What did the doctors say? When can he come home? Instead, I asked, which hospital? She blinked. What? Which hospital in Tahoe? I'd like to send flowers. Her mouth opened, then closed. I'd have to check the name again. Do that, I said evenly. She stared at me like I was a stranger. Owen, you're acting weird. You didn't even ask how bad he's hurt. He's alive, I said. That's what matters. That night, after she'd gone to bed, I sat in my garage with the space heater running and called Aaron. How you holding up? He asked. Found more, I said. Lot more. This goes back 2 years, Aaron. Medical billing scams, credit cards, all of it. Federal agents involved yet? Called this afternoon. Aaron was quiet for a moment. Owen, You know what this means, right? They don't call from the federal level unless somebody's looking at real time. I stared at my workbench. Tools hung neat and clean, everything in its place. Honest tools bought with honest money. Yeah, I know. You got somewhere to stay if things get complicated? I'll figure it out. No, you won't figure it out. You'll come stay with me and Sharon until this gets sorted. That's what union brothers do. The next 3 days were the strangest of my life. I went to work, ran my crew, solved problems like always. But underneath it all, I was documenting everything. Bank statements, medical records, insurance claims, building a paper trail that would either save me or bury me. Michelle tried twice more to get money. First, Mason needed additional treatment. Then his car had been impounded and needed $200 to get released. Both times, I said the same thing. Call his father. Both times she got angry. His father isn't in our lives. Neither am I, apparently, I replied. I'm just the bank account. On Friday afternoon, my phone rang at work. Liam Garrett. I'd met Liam exactly 3 times in 19 years. Michelle had made sure of that. But when his voice came through my phone, tired and worried, I understood why she'd kept us apart. Owen, I'm sorry to bother you, but I got a call from some collection agency. They said Mason listed me as his father, but then they mentioned your name as guarantor on some casino debt. My heart sank. What did you tell them? That I've been trying to stay in Mason's life for years. Michelle changed numbers, moved without telling me, said Mason didn't want to see me. His voice cracked. Owen, I never stopped paying child support. I never stopped trying. I didn't know, I said. She told Mason I abandoned him. She told you God knows what. But I've been here the whole time, and I would have helped him get treatment instead of helping him gamble. That evening, I sat Michelle down at our kitchen table. We need to talk, I said. For the first time in days, she looked genuinely scared. We need to talk, I said. Michelle sat across from our kitchen table, the same table where we'd shared 19 years of dinners, where she'd helped Mason with homework, where we'd planned our future. Now it felt like evidence between us. I spread the papers out slowly. Bank statements, credit reports, insurance records, numbers that didn't lie. Owen, I can explain. No, I said quietly. You can listen. Her hands were shaking. Good. I know about the casino marker. I know about the credit cards. I know about the medical refunds you've been stealing. I pointed to each document. 24 months, Michelle. 2 years of using my name like it was yours to spend. I was protecting my son, she whispered. You were enabling a gambling addict and committing federal crimes. I leaned back. I talked to Liam today. The color drained from her face. Owen, whatever he told you. He told me the truth, about the child support he never stopped paying, about how you cut him out of Mason's life, about how you made that boy think his father didn't care about him. Tears started down her cheeks, but I was done being moved by them. Mason called me yesterday, she said. He's scared. He owes money to dangerous people. If we don't help him, I stood up. There is no we anymore, Michelle. There's you, dealing with the consequences of what you've done. And there's me protecting what I worked 38 years to build. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in the federal courthouse in Detroit, same building where I'd gone for union arbitration hearings back in the day. But this felt different. Heavier. Michelle walked in 10 minutes late, heels clicking on marble. She wore a navy dress I'd bought her for Christmas 2 years ago, with money that was probably stolen from somewhere. Mason came through a side door with his public defender, moving careful like his ribs still hurt from whatever really happened that night. I sat alone on a wooden bench, hands folded the way Aaron had taught me. Don't look angry, he'd said. "Look like a man who knows the truth will come out." The prosecutor was a woman about my daughter's age, if I'd had a daughter. Professional, prepared, no wasted words. "Your Honor, this case involves systematic identity theft and financial fraud spanning 24 months. The defendants used Mr. Sullivan's identity to obtain $42,000 in casino credit, multiple credit cards, and diverted medical insurance payments totaling an additional $18,000. Mason slumped in his chair. Michelle stared straight ahead. "Mr. Sullivan," the judge said, looking over his glasses, "you're listed as guarantor on multiple accounts. Did you authorize any of these transactions?" "No, sir. I didn't know they existed until the police called me." "And when you discovered them?" "I froze my accounts, documented everything, and cooperated with the investigation." The judge nodded. "Agent Torres, please present the evidence." That's when they played the recording. Michelle's voice filled the courtroom, small but clear. "You were always the safer name. No context needed. Just truth, recorded and undeniable." Michelle's lawyer whispered urgently in her ear. She shook her head, tears flowing. "Mrs. Sullivan, do you dispute the authenticity of this recording?" "No, Your Honor." The judge leaned back, studied the papers in front of him. "Mr. Sullivan, the court finds no evidence you authorized or benefited from these actions. All claims against you are dismissed." I felt lighter, like I'd been holding my breath for months. "However," the judge continued, "Mrs. Sullivan, you are charged with conspiracy to commit financial fraud and identity theft. Mr. Garrett, your charges include fraud and violating the terms of your casino credit agreement." In the hallway afterward, Michelle tried one last time. "Owen, please. I know I made mistakes, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling." I looked at her for a long moment. 19 years of marriage, of believing her stories, of being the safer name she could count on. "Michelle, I spent 19 years trying to fix things. You spent them breaking them. Don't do this to us." "I'm not doing anything," I said. "I'm just done being part of it." 6 months later, I was sitting on the porch of a small rental house outside Sandusky, watching the sun come up over Lake Erie. 1 floor, no stairs, mortgage-free. The coffee was hot, the morning was quiet, and my phone wasn't ringing with somebody else's emergency. Michelle got 2 years federal prison and lost her medical license. Mason got 18 months and mandatory treatment for gambling addiction. The court ordered restitution, which meant I actually got most of my money back. These days, I volunteer Thursday mornings at the Great Lakes Auto Retiree Center, helping guys navigate the paperwork nobody prepares you for. Identity protection, pension security, warning signs that your family might be using you as their personal bank. You'd be surprised how many men my age have stories like mine. Good men who worked hard, saved their money, and trusted the wrong people with both. Last month, a guy named Tony sat across from my desk crying because his son-in-law had emptied his 401k. "I just wanted to help my daughter," he said. I handed him the tissues and told him what Aaron had told me. Love without limits isn't love. It's liability. The most dangerous person in your life isn't some stranger with a gun. It's the person who knows exactly how good your heart is and exactly how to use that goodness against you. Real strength isn't about never saying no. It's about knowing when no is the only honest answer you can give. These days, my phone stays quiet at night. And that's exactly how I like it.